In fact, let's start at 3360. This is at 3360, it's a letter you wrote addressed to the National Commissioner. And it reads, this office refers to the information previously requested in terms of Section 28 of the NPA Act, to which your office complied. And then at paragraph 3, you indicate attached here to is a Section 28 subpoena requesting further information. And that subpoena starts at 3361. You see that?
I see that.
And that subpoena has got a date stamp of the 3rd of April, 2025. And if you look at 3362, it has, under the heading details of the matter or other information, and I quote, this investigation pertains to unlawful promotion, appointment of personnel within the Division Crime Intelligence of the South African Police Service. Where does that matter come from? Because paragraph 5 of Mr. Adams's affidavit complains specifically about the promotion, not even the promotion, the appointment of General Khumalo as the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence. How do we land where the subpoena now implies that there's a full-blown investigation into promotions, appointments of personnel within crime intelligence?
At this stage, Chair, we were not talking about a full-blown investigation. This being the 3rd of April, it would still have been the preliminary investigation, and it would then invariably have related to the issues around the appointment of Brigadier Mokwele and promotion, stroke upon. Yes, this subpoena would have related to that matter. And you can see that from the...
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then let's go to 3363 while we are on that. I'm interested in item 1 of Annexure B at 3363.
Also deals with
and it's
Khumalo, so promotion, appointment of personnel. So it would have been Mokwele, and then when you read on this one, as I see, that it would have dealt with Mr. There's no Mr. Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Okay. And that is under item 1, specifically references the appointment by deviation of Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Correct.
Where do we know appointment was by deviation?
Sorry, Counsel?
How did you land at the conclusion that the appointment was by deviation? The complaint was that the appointment, original complaint, was that the appointment was effected without an interview process. Do you recall?
I cannot recall, but I would have been given this information by the investigators because they ordinarily brought these subpoenas.
Okay.
Just for information, is this a concept that exists in the context of appointments? I know of the concept, for example, in the context of procurement, where instead of going through the usual routes, like inviting quotations and the final one being an open public tender system. But something that would ordinarily fall under the latter or this last category may be done through what is called a deviation. For example, if services are required urgently. So you talk about deviation. Do you ever talk about deviation in the context of employment? I'm not saying you don't.
No.
I just need you to
Yes.
edify me, yeah.
If I can explain it in the NPA context, as I understand it there, and it relates then to government as a whole, ordinarily, posts must be advertised with all the bells and whistles that go with it, in terms of format, forum, how long it lays, all of that. When you find that you may not, after the entire process of applicants and the sifting thereof, you find that there aren't sufficient suitable candidates, it's one of two things. You re-advertise, which in itself is again a costly exercise, or you ask for a deviation of the process. And you're allowed to ask for a deviation of the process through your department and through Treasury, which allows for, and you'll forgive me, but for the loosely worded headhunting exercise, where you would then be able to identify somebody that is suitable for that position. It is in that context, Chair, that the word deviation is used within the recruitment framework.
So it is something, it's a concept that does exist.
It does exist.
Thank you.
Because you need approval for it. It's
Thank
out
you.
of the ordinary.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And if I understand you correctly, then you equate the notion of deviation to headhunting.
Correct.
Okay.
At least in our space, we
Yes.
tend to, it's easier to use that word.
Now, is headhunting in specific circumstances, is it per se illegal, unlawful? Is it supported by law that the right authority may elect to headhunt?
It is supported by law, provided that there's certain prescripts that must be adhered to. So if those prescripts are not adhered to, then it makes it an unlawful exercise.
Irregular, yes. But then we know, having dealt with paragraph 5 of Mr. Adams's affidavit, that this is purely a question of how General Khumalo was appointed by the former Minister of Police, and I think we have agreed that that would not necessarily fall within the mandate of IDAC. You recall when we were looking at the suspicion that Mr. Adams has expressed at paragraph 5.
Yes.
The fact that you ask for the detail here and the documentation to support that deviation, quote unquote, does not in and of itself bring it within the ambit of IDAC. So you were acting outside your mandate there?
No, Chair. We needed to consider whether or not, in terms of the the allegations of, more especially the fraud and/or corruption, if in the alleged deviation that had taken place.
Where does the
That is
fraud
how
and corruption come?
I understand it.
Also, my apologies. Now you are imputing corruption in the deviation and fraud. Where do those notions now come from? We start from paragraph 5 of the referral affidavit. We don't have a supplementary affidavit, we have just established, on the issue of the appointment of General Khumalo. How do we even land on fraud or corruption? We've just, I think, agreed that deviation, which is headhunting, properly executed and following applicable prescripts, is permissible. When did we get to fraud and corruption, and how?
Can we just, I know you say that, Council, that we didn't, we only had the 27. If you look at the date of, the summons, the summons is 3 April.
It's April.
By then, we ought to have had the supplementary affidavits from Mr. Adams.
Yeah, we have them. Remember,
Yes.
they are taken on the 6th of January.
Yes,
And we have clarified this morning what topics they specifically covered.
yes. If I could just cast my mind there, that was the color. It's confusing about which one I must now cast my mind to, because you've given me two sets and one of which I only saw yesterday, but I cast my mind to the first set I've seen. Yes. Fadil, I assume. If you look at, sorry, Commissioners, and sorry, Chair, I don't want you to play dice with the files, but it is in file 9. If we go to 3475,
Okay?
file 9.
Yes.
And this having been taken on the 6th of January, the subpoena being the 3rd of April, paragraph 2, on or about early October 24, I received information anonymously surrounding alleged fraud and corruption perpetrated by General Masemola, National Commission of the South African Police Services, and other senior generals of SAPS. The allegations related to the highly questionable appointment of General Khumalo as the head of crime intelligence nationally. The former Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, was also involved in this, while several highly skilled generals within CI were overlooked. That is where they would have put into the subpoena, Chair, the fraud and corruption to which I referred.
Oh.
This is the document having been drafted then by investigators.
By
the investigators and prosecutors.
No, not investigators. We dealt with this yesterday.
Yes,
That is
the information from the investigators. This is a document that would be compiled by the prosecutors, and this is where that information of fraud and corruption would have come from. I conclude.
We settled this yesterday. What you are looking at is Mr. Perumal's affidavit.
Yes.
That's not the investigators' plural affidavit.
Yes.
And this is the questionable affidavit as to when Mr. Perumal took this, took this statement and commissioned it.
And not only when, there's also the question of where, which is quite the Cape Town Pretoria
Indeed.
issue.
So this I would think, based on our conversation yesterday, as to what constitute the true supplementary affidavits or statements by Mr. Adams. This cannot be one of them, because you have Advocate Ramsamy and Investigator Rapesu, who say they don't know where these documents come from. And there's a question, and a serious question, whether or not they were fabricated within IDAC, because the two of a three-man team of investigators that engaged Mr. Adams completely disavow these documents, including the very one you've just relied upon. To assist you, besides that affidavit you rely on, personally, I'm not aware of any other document.
No.
There might very well be, but I'm saying I'm not aware of it. If you have a sense of what you might be looking for, please indicate. We will try and see if we can locate it for you in the meantime so that we can move on.
And I say if, because it's an exercise the Commission will still undertake about
Yes.
which is the true set. There is some alluding there too. If you look at the supplementary, if we are to say that the supplementary taken by Mr. Rapesu, although it is not as detailed, says on 3489,
Yes.
paragraph 3, Commissioners, Chair, amongst the information, it was alleged that certain high-ranking police officials' security clearances and promotions were awarded as a result of alleged corrupt practices. That is the only other reference I can find.
And in fact, that I think actually dovetails with what's in this, the original affidavit, which is about security clearances, but now it's got promotions being awarded as a result of alleged corrupt practices. That can be talking to the original paragraph 5. And even if we say they were, how that then lands you on Lieutenant General Khumalo is difficult for me to appreciate for the moment. But however you landed there this morning, you considered that would still not be a matter that falls within the mandate of IDAC.
That is correct,
It's an
no matter
employment
which way
issue.
we debate it.
Yes. And